Mary, I had some questions on these.
Sure, John, I figured that you would.
How come we got so many of them?
So,
Some are monstrous.
yeah, they are. These are a result of the number of meters that we have been replacing over the last 2 months have been substantial. A lot of the accounts that we have replaced the meters have been accounts that have been estimated for over 2 years due to the fact that we've reached out to the residents with no response. So the accounts had been overestimated. Once we successfully made contact and replaced the equipment, as you can see, quite a large amount of accounts had been overestimated just based on just us being unsuccessful to obtain an actual meter reading. So, the office staff has been doing a great job in terms of reaching out, finally making contact with the residents. But, unfortunately, this number of abatements is the result of it.
Someone have music?
No, that's the,
Mary, do we
The
have
clock here.
many more of these? I mean, at the next meeting, would we expect to see a similar?
I would think not, Bill. This amount is a result of there not being a December meeting. Also, just like I said, we've been replacing probably 40 meters a week. A lot of this equipment has needed to be replaced for a couple years, and
Yeah,
like I said, we just haven't been able to gain contact with the residents. So
yeah,
we've tried different approaches in terms of contact, which have been successful. And, it's just once we receive that meter replacement paperwork back, is really how, that's when we're discovering how, highly overestimated these accounts have been.
okay.
Yeah. I had one other thing, Mary. The Bird Middle School, do they even pay for water?
They do. So what that abatement was, John, that's their irrigation system. And the previous bill that they had received was an estimated bill due to the fact that we did not receive the meter reading in time for the billing. So once we sent out the most recent bill, it was clear that the previous bill had been largely underestimated, which brought quite a substantial amount of usage as a catch-up in the fourth tier. So what we did was we just separated the usage, the total usage into the 180-day billing period for the two bills, just to bring some of that usage out of that fourth tier that they were billed for.
Okay, I guess.
Okay, because the previous bill had been underestimated. So because it was a catch-up bill, it brings such a substantial amount of usage in that fourth tier.
I mean, it was almost like reading a book when you go through this thing.
Yeah.
Does anyone care to make a motion on these?
I have a question, John.
Go ahead.
This is Pat. Now, when we give an abatement, we don't send them a check. Is that correct?
No. So what happens, Patrick, is once these are signed off, they go down to the finance department and a credit is placed on their account.
Okay, I just checking, Mary.
Yeah.
That was our policy. I just wanted to make sure it was continuing.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we accept the abatements, approve the abatements, I should say.
Do you have a second on it? No one cares to second it? I'll second it. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Aye.
So it's a 201, looks like.
I was a,
You were a positive,
I'm yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
okay.
So
Just
301.
a question, Mary. Since we're doing a Zoom, it seemed to me I recall you votes had to be taken by roll or something, or was that if people couldn't
Yes,
see us?
yeah, correct. Yeah, you are correct, Bill. And
Oh,
as far as the abatements go, how they were handled before when we did the Zooms, that we would have the vote and then the chairman would come into the office and sign them.
right. So John, we need to have a roll call for that vote to be official.
Okay. All those in favor? John Splain, aye.
Bill Abbott, aye.
Pradeep Mishra, yes.
Patrick?
Aye. Patrick Fasenello, aye.
Now we
Oh,
got
so say,
4-0-0.
So
Okay.
This is a 4-0 vote then.
Yep.
Okay, we're all set with that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
The minutes of October 25th. This is another one that reads like a book. Anyone have any comments on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 25th.
Get a second?
I'll second that, John. Patrick Fasenello.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Fasenello, aye.
Bill Abbott, aye.
Pradeep, yes.
John Splain, aye. It is a vote, 4-0. Superintendent status report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the last meeting, we talked about PFAS for the Delaney plant. We did get those results back for December, and they came in at 17.4 parts per trillion. So it's still flatlining right at that 17.5 area. So it hasn't gone up, but it hasn't come down yet either. The other project for Delaney, the filter rehab, filters 3 and 4 have been emptied to filter media and gravel. It's currently being sandblasted. Well, both of them are being sandblasted right now. We had a little bit of delay last week with the painting contract to get mobilized, but they did get it going today and they're blasting that. And once these 2 filters are done, that project will be complete. Our final Water Management Act permit has been issued. Had an effective date of December 16th. Nothing in it was really a surprise. There are a couple things that require us to reply to with deadlines. Those 2 replies have been written and will go out this week before those deadlines occur. It was requested for an update on the Coach Road sewer extension. We had a preliminary meeting with Weston Sampson at the end of December, so that's still going forward. Trimethanes, I had brought that up at the prior meeting as something of concern. They will be resampled per our sampling schedule beginning of next month, first week of February. And the treatment options, we're going to start out with, if we need to, optimization of the plant, work with the equipment that we have, optimize coagulant dosage and pH, try to get those precursors down so you don't form the THMs and have to deal with them after the fact, that after they're formed. And we do have options after that we've looked at as far as removing THMs if we need to, that would possibly require a modification to the process. So water main replacement, that's still in design. Right now, waiting for some survey work to come back on June Street. We're expecting the bid advertisement to go out in March with bid opening in April. That's what I have at this point.
I
Okay,
have a question, Mr. Chairman.
go ahead, Patrick.
When we're testing for the PFAS, you're talking about raw water, is that correct, Scott? The 17.5?
No, that's finished water at the entry point to the distribution system at both plants is what you're actually providing the consumers.
Both plants have the same amount?
No, not anywhere
Oh.
near.
Tell me the difference, please.
Sure, it's a pretty dramatic difference. The Willis plant is right near the detection limit for PFAS. The MCL is 20 parts per trillion detection limit. If you're below 2.0 parts per trillion, it's considered undetected. And I believe one sample we had at the Willis was 2.04. You can't get much lower without being undetected. So that plant right now under current conditions is in good shape. And it's the Delaney plant that we're keeping our eye on.
And okay, so the 17.5 is, where'd you get that number?
Every month we collect a sample first month of each quarter for the Willis plant and every single month for the Delaney plant. And those go out to a state certified lab, and the results are reported back to us. It takes like almost 3 weeks to get the result back from the time that you collect it. So there's a delay there. But that's something that we have a schedule issued by the DEP.
Okay, so this 17.5 is at the Delaney plant, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and it's 17.5 and the legal limit is 20.
20 is the MCL.
Yeah, so what plans do we have to remediate that
Short term.
if it goes into the 20s?
So short term, immediate action, you can change the blend of wells that are coming to the plant. There is a significant variation between one well and another, and they can be right next to each other and you still get that variation. So controlling what's coming in will control what's going out. You can do that as long as that's the way you're going to operate. You can't do that to pass a test. You can't do that. But in the short term, it would be changing the blend. Long term, if we had to do something, you're looking at a treatment option, something like activated carbon. The Willis plant, we looked at activated carbon for a different problem. That was THMs and TOC removal. And the estimate around then was about $3.8 million for that option. You can do other things with ion exchange, but there are options.
Is there one well that's the culprit?
No, there are actually 3 wells that are somewhat high.
Okay, are they all PFAS 5?
The PFAS 6
5.
compounds. I don't know which of the 6 compounds they are. We have that report. I can give you that information, but it's the sum of the 6 compounds that will put you in.
Okay, it's only those discrete PFAS chemicals, right? It's not every single one.
Numerous PFAS chemicals.
Okay.
6
And
of
those
them are regulated.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question on you said that there was quite a difference between the Delaney and the Willis plant. And then if I understood you right, it sounded like the Delaney was at 17 point whatever, and the Willis was at 20, which doesn't sound like a significant difference. So did I misunderstand what?
Yes, that's off by a factor of 10. It's 2.0 is where you have consideration for being non-detected. If you
Okay.
That, not 20.
All right. All right. So it's 2 versus 17 is what?
Correct.
Okay. And the 2 is way, way below the MCL. So.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Steve, do you have anything to add? Or you all set?
Steve, you're on mute.
Hello, Steve.
No, just that we're monitoring it and trying to manage it the best we can with the information we have.
Okay, sounds good. All right,
Commissioner, I have a question.
go ahead.
So the ARP projects, I think I had asked for details 3 months back. Do you have any status, Scott?
Excuse me, could you repeat the question again?
So for the American Rescue Plan funding and the projects under it, I had asked question 3 months back. Do you have any update on it?
That hasn't changed. That money is being determined what is eligible to be funded by it. Like I said before, we don't want to get to a position where we pick a project, we design it and build it, and then we find out after the fact that we've spent the money that project is not eligible. So right now it's the thing where eligibility is being looked at.
Can you provide us an update every month going forward on the same?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Who are we waiting for to decide what's eligible, Scott?
The projects that are being looked at are being looked at by the town administrator. He's the one that's looking at each project and saying that it's going to be something that will be applicable, that will be eligible for.
So he's the one who's deciding what's eligible and what's not, or is Jim waiting for direction from, I don't know, the county, the state, the federal, or?
No, I believe it is the TA who's looking at the determination of what is eligible,
Okay.
based on what is known about their guidelines.
Hi, this is Rick. The determination for eligibility, I believe, comes from the county
Okay.
or the federal government. And the funds are administered by the select board.
Oh, what the?
So if you guys were to make a request for the use of ARPA funds, it'd have to go through the select board.
For that, we need to know what other projects can be taken, like lead pipe replacement, or, that should come from the superintendent, that there are things which we can improve. And
Correct. But the select board has control of the funds.
which is
Stormwater
true, but we should know what we can look for, which project we can spend money on, before we can ask select board to, fund it.
Has the water or sewer department put forward some ideas of what those departments would like to have on the list? And I understand the selectmen are the ones who end up making the final decision. Either Scott or Rick?
There are some projects that are being looked at.
And they are?
One of them would be a redundant line from the central storage tank.
Okay.
That would be something that if you had instead of having a point of failure that you couldn't get water in and out of the tanks, that you'd have another means of getting in and out.
Well, that would be on my list. I was wondering, any other,
I can take a look at the list and see what's on there for us and give you an update on that.
okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
question to our superintendent. What do you think about more water storage?
Most water storage,
Yes, more water storage.
or more water storage. That's something that would depend on the area, and you don't want to run into the case where you have too much storage in one area, you don't have a turnover, and you run into problems with taste and odor and stagnation, bacteria hits. It can lead into other problems like having too much water in storage.
Yeah, that used to be true. But with some of the new things they do now with machinery to turn the water over and computers to make sure the water is used from different sources at different times. Taking that into account, you don't see any need for more water?
In my opinion, that would outweigh the benefit. I think you should have enough for fire protection, for having the system down for a certain period of time where you couldn't produce water to fill the tanks. That gave you that buffering. But I think you'd run into more problems by having too much storage. There should be the right amount of storage, not too little, not too much.
Well, I think the technology would, cover whatever we needed to store. All right, I just had, people have been calling me about our storage capacity and should we increase it or not? Scott, the thing is that our population is increasing. I mean, I was absolutely shocked to see how much it had gone up. And so capacity hasn't increased. So it would be logical to think that we might need some more storage. But that's it. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Okay, Patrick. All right, moving on. Planning Board, Paragon Investments Incorporated. This is the West Street, Spring Street deal.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we send them a note saying that there's been no change in the water and sewer recommendations that we made earlier. If you look at what the engineer is addressing, all they're talking about is moving parking places and sidewalks and things like that. So similar to we've answered this very project before, that we stand by our original comments.
Okay, everyone all set with that?
I have I'm fine with that, but I have a question too.
Go ahead.
Looking at this plan, I believe I can see Spring Street, there's a water line coming in to the development from Spring Street. On Old West Street, I can't tell if that's a water line or what it is. And is that it? There's only one water line going in? Or am I reading, this plan is very, very, full of information. And it's hard to see with all these different, lines and everything here. Am I correct? Is there a water line from Spring Street and a water line from Old West Street? Or, well, let me put the question another way. Are there two water lines that enter this development? And that question is for the superintendent.
My recollection, Patrick, was that there were two, but I have to double check that.
I'm sorry, Scott, that was muffled. Say that again.
My recollection was there was two, but I have to double check that.
There are two water lines going in?
Yes,
Okay, now, I can see there's an 8-inch water line. Okay, coming in from Spring Street. You see that over on the right-hand side?
right.
All right, now, is that an 8-inch water line coming off Old West Street also?
Old West Street dead ends going up it.
It would be coming off West Street.
Old West Street,
It's West Street and it's a 12-inch line.
right, Old West Street dead ends.
I believe it's 6-inch water on West Street, 12-inch water on Spring Street.
No, it's 12-inch water on West Street. It's 8-inch water on Spring Street, and it's just a loop system.
It goes right through there then, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that gives this development two sources of water and it gives us a loop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
So you wanted to make a motion and we just ask them to go by what we said before?
I'll make a motion that we send the planning board that we have no additional comments on this project beyond what we originally specified.
Okay, any more?
I'll second.
Second, John?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, John Splain, aye?
Bill Abbott, aye.
Fasenello, aye.
Pradeep, aye.
Hanson Yeager, aye.
Okay, I guess it's a 5-0. All right. Correspondence. Final water management permit. This was like another book.
Yeah.
Everybody read it?
I did. There is a lot of information in there,
There certainly is.
but it came out good.
I thought it looked pretty good. Scott, Rick, what do you think?
Right, like I mentioned, there's nothing in there that was really a surprise. And the items that require action on our part are already well underway.
Right, and I think the permitted volume is more than sufficient to meet our needs for the next 5 to 10 years.
Very good.
There was, Mr. Chairman, I don't have the document unfortunately right in front of me, but there was a discussion that for the growth of the community and expansion of water, that we should be working with the MWRA, that the basin that our wells are drawing from was not appropriate to be pursuing further well development. And I thought that was significant. It somewhat reinforces Mr. Fasanello's duties on several occasions to engage with the MWRA to discuss the possibility of supplemental water connection, future water rights, and resource availability for the community going forward the next.
Right, I would just make one point. You need to look at where that comment came from. Did not come from the DEP.
John, we lost your audio.
That was from NEPR.
If you'd like, I'd try to organize a workshop meeting that could be attended by the MWRA, and then we can notify the staff of when that meeting's going to be. But I think we should get going with this, because at the worst case, before any money's spent on engineering plans and so forth for well development, that we should get the option clearly before the town meeting that what the opportunity is and that what we'd like to do, even though we were turned down once before. I think that was just more a lack of educating the realities to the town meeting members of what, we don't control the future and we don't control all the water resources. So we have to kind of work within the authorities and within the recommendations that are made.
John, we already been turned down once at town meeting, and Mr. Matson just got through telling us that he thinks we're in good shape for the next 10 years or so.
Well, I know that, and I know we're not selling enough water. I understand all these things, but my lying eyes shows me that there's 800 new residents coming into downtown Walpole in the next year, and that the census that just released says that we have almost 27,000 people, not 24,000. And if we have the PFAS issue is unsolved, or if there's a contamination, the future is going to be up the creek. So these are all, it's nice to look in the past in the rearview mirror and say everything is great. And I'm not agreeing with these people, the doomsayers that keep sending the emails that we have a bucket of water under the ground, we got to defend it and not use it and so forth and so on. And those are the people that need to be educated. But I think from a concern of an article that Patrick circulated from the MWRA, it's pretty clear that many communities on the South Shore now are coming up and realizing there's an opportunity to get in line in front of Walpole to hook up. And someday there's going to be a day when there is going to be no hookups. And I think that the economic story is so favorable to doing that. It just needs to be organized and presented. I think the last time around, the 200, it came out to 6 million over 30 years, 200,000 a year at no interest. And that with 10,000 water bills came out to be like $20 a year starting. And by the end of 30 years, it'd be down to about $8 a year per account, versus borrowing a lot of money to build new wells and to come into the same potential risk of the PFAS or other contaminants, and also the issues that were raised in the report there by the MWRA.
Mr. Chairman?
Patrick,
My position on this would be that we would talk to the MWRA and basically join it, not necessarily ever taking water, but using it as an insurance policy, that if we had to use it, we would have the ability to use it or to augment our own supply. Many of the towns in Massachusetts don't rely on MWRA water wholly. Like Dedham, for instance, I know one that uses their own water and MWRA water when they need it. So that would be my position, is that we get in line, we try to get there first, get ownership of part of the MWRA system and have that forever, basically. And who knows what's going to happen down the line. But we should, as sewer and water commissioners, be forward-looking and at least, try to make sure the town has something that they can rely on in the future. And I view it as an insurance policy, basically. That's my position.
Okay, Pat. All right, I guess we're all set with the management thing.
Commissioner, I have a comment to make.
Yeah, sir.
On page 9, the DP asked us to do a customer reach out every 3 months. And the second point they are asking were to increase the billing frequency from quarterly to monthly. I think those are the good suggestions. Doing it, or we should be doing it. That's only my comment.
Okay. Someone here chimes.
Just one clarification on Pradeep's comments. That was not the DEP that recommended that. That was NEPRA.
Who is MEPRO?
The Portsmouth Watershed Association. If they had their way, you'd never use a drop of water.
Yeah, this page 9 say Mass DP should also require that Walpole do, there's a lot of points, not only about the billing frequency and all, they have a lot of good suggestions also. Education outreach messages, all those stuff. It has nothing to.
Right, we are gonna work with them on education outreach,
Okay.
but as far as the monthly billing, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, we have to be positive about that. I don't want to hear negative comments on it. If you're planning to increase rates in future, no one can afford, quarterly bills. That's my stand. Especially our bill rates are so high.
Okay. Bill Abbott, you got some stuff?
Correspondence 2, this is the regular water production information. I did get the December numbers, but it was too late to put in our package. The December was, again, would be a red number. It's still below the historical average. And if you Correspondence 3 is the revenue that you see every month. December was a pretty good month.
Hey, looks like we're doing a good job with our water. Master plan, email. Anyone got that?
Yep.
Yeah. If I could, I think that, again, we always have extensive agendas for these meetings, but there's a couple things that I think the commissioners need to have a workshop on where we can focus on one or two things in depth and try to develop a consensus of policy direction. This would be one, again. The consultants doing this took the avenue of trying to pigeonhole a few individual commissioners with questions. But unfortunately, we all may disagree on a number of points about the future. And I think we should probably discuss a few of these points and see if we have consensus so that we could give a cogent statement or letter or email to the master plan of what our visions are for the future and what our risks and opportunities are. And the 5 commissioners are somewhat in agreement with, or at least the majority, as opposed to just having them ask select questions to 1 or 2 individuals. So I would like to entertain, and I have all the materials. I've been going to their meetings and participating in their workshops, etc. So I could bring all that so we could go through the key responses that would be appropriate for the commission to provide consensus opinions on for the future. Now, I don't know, to have the time to do that, that might take 35 minutes, I don't know, or 45 minutes of a discussion. So it's not something we can just do in the middle of a meeting, unfortunately.
I have a question. I'm just reading. This was a November 22nd email, and in the body of the letter, it said the interviews will be available over the next 2 weeks. Have we missed the deadline, or are they still capturing comments, John? Do you know?
No, we'll get it. I mean, this is a procedure that some people are all into process. They're not into the meat and potatoes of what the objectives really are and what the mission is. They highly define this thing of each week going to answer B and C, and they have little boxes in the cloud, and they structure the answers. If your answer doesn't fit the answer that they put in the box, you can't answer the question. So I've sort of made it clear we will make our own statement. They're not going to speak for us, and we don't have to be delimited. I don't think, Bill, that first of all, that window wasn't ready the first day when it was supposed to be, and then it was closed when I went there to try to explain that we should have a group discussion of these topics.
So we still have time is the...
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe putting this on the agenda for our next meeting.
Yeah, for our workshop meeting, we'll be getting a notice out on that once we organize how to do that.
Mr. Chairman?
We could, but I think everyone feels how the others feel about our future. Right?
Mr. Chairman?
Patrick.
I was interviewed extensively, and Commissioner Hassenjag is kind of right. Some of the questions were trying to put me in a box a little bit, but when I strayed from the box, that was no problem. And I would say I was interviewed for about an hour and 15 minutes. And I didn't feel like I was supposed to say anything I didn't believe in. Mr. Abbott, were you ever interviewed?
No.
Pradeep, were you?
No, not me.
You were never interviewed, right? John, were you interviewed?
Nope. They took the 2 softies.
The other John, were you interviewed?
No.
So I was the only one interviewed?
Yeah, so that's my concern.
Mine too.
I don't know what.
Straighten them out.
Good a man, Pat. Oh, God. Yeah, why don't we put it in for the next meeting? We could talk about it for a while and see where we go from there. Is that okay with you, Mary?
Yeah, I'll add it to the next agenda, John.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, moving right along.
Yes, in that point, Mary, what we'd like to do is have a meeting with a light agenda so we can cover some of these big things, not be bogged down by all the little stuff,
Okay.
the minutia. Maybe.
Because the next meeting on the schedule is the 24th. Which I don't have anything pending now, so that would.
So why don't we just block it off and keep the stuff off for push stuff downstream to the next meeting?
Okay.
So we can use this next meeting for the 2 things. We can talk more about the MWRA and and we can also talk about the master plan response.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Why not? Okay, next one's a good one. Correspondence from the Acheron Water Company regarding Dover getting our water. And I will make a statement right off the bat that I'm not interested. You know, it's a rich little town. They should be taking care of their own stuff. Not coming to us. We're under a water permit and everything else. Our
Mr. Chairman?
responsibility is Walpole. Patrick,
This has been gone over, I forget how many years ago, when it was owned by the other company. They came to us and offered nothing and just not demanded, asked for stuff from us. And the thing is, what I don't understand is they're adjacent to a bunch of NWRA communities. There's Wellesley, there's Needham, there's Dedham. I think Natick might be one also. Those towns could wheel in water from the MWRA, and the MWRA obviously has a lot more water than we do.
Patrick,
I'm curious why they came to us when, number one, we don't have really a great surplus of water, and number two, those other towns are basically closer.
in fact, from what I read, they do get some water from Natick, I believe it is, already.
Okay,
It said
so
like
why?
70% of the town is on wells.
Yeah, they probably need to come to us if we're interested at all. We could, if they wanted to get from water from Westwood, let's say, we could wheel it to them, passing it through Walpole into Dover. I wouldn't mind that at all.
You know,
So if they want us to wheel water, that's one thing. But if they want to use our groundwater, they already have permission to use some of our water, as you know, with the
From the
Texaco
spill,
spill. I don't understand why they came to us when we don't have the resources those other towns do. That's my question.
we're under withdrawal permit. And like John Passenger said, there's more people coming online and stuff. We can't be giving water to other towns. Just no way.
I think that we should say that we're not interested, and I can think of reasons why they might have wanted to come to Walpole, is that since, as John mentioned, 70% are on wells, maybe the 30% that are on some sort of public water, and there are more than one company, that they may be close to Walpole, and that's why they were looking. Or they could have asked Natick or Needham or whatever, who also said, no, not interested. I did read a report, and I think they mentioned that they don't have any storage. They have few wells. I was reading a report that Dover had a consultant come in. There, many cases using well over 65 gallons per person per day. I think they're just looking for a cheap way to not have to develop infrastructure. This is a private company, private water company. And the other, just as sort of a general, I don't mind us having an interconnect with other communities when both communities could benefit. So we have interconnects with others who in a pinch can serve us and we can serve them. In this case, it's only a one way. They could never address any need that we might have. It would only be a one-way issue. So I think we would just respond that we're not interested.
If it was an emergency, I could see helping them out, but not in a case like this. I'd make a motion. I'd make a motion that we send them a letter thanking them for their interest and sorry,
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? John Splain, aye.
Bill Abbott, aye.
John Hassenjaeger, aye.
And Pradeep?
Pradeep, absent.
401, I guess. Okay. Piscatello.
I visited him.
Rick Matson, can you explain any of that?
Well, I can, John.
Okay, go ahead.
I went and visited him. They only sent 5 letters out, one to each of the commissioners. And I, like everybody else, was puzzled. What the heck are they talking about? So Saturday, I went and visited him and spoke with him for a half hour, and this has no connection to us. If you look at the second page, which is very confusing, the only way, if you see Dedham check, a check number, that was a check they wrote to pay their water bill. They have no problem with what they paid. They have no problem with the water quality or anything like that. What they were doing was going to the town website, looking for information about 65 Summer Street, that 40B. And for some reason, they ended up getting this long list of information. You see a lot of network errors and whatever. And when they noticed at the bottom, Dedham check, that number, that was their check number. And they were wondering, has the system been hacked or whatever? I didn't know the answer to that, but I said, look, if you're interested in that 40B, talk to the Community Development Department who handles the 40B. And if you got a question as to how, you know, in a list of things, I mean, the first one, Kathleen Cleary, that was a public submission to that 40B. How, you know, these things sort of came out, I said, well, maybe you want to talk to the collector's office to see how a check that they mailed in ended up in this mix, or maybe is Mike Donovan still the DP person for the town? Do you know, Mary?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Well, that was the third person I suggested, but it really has there's no problem with water, and they understand that now. So,
Okay.
So to your point, Bill, all of those people are looking at it. The IT, community development, and the collector's office, and none of them can understand how it happened either, but they are investigating it.
well, that's good, because I had suggested they talk to those folks. I did get the person's phone number in case I discovered anything. So, well, that's good news. They're nice people. It was just odd that they saw a check that was paying a water bill, and that's how they went after, see if we could explain things.
Okay, let's move on to discussion items. The spring annual town meeting warrant.
There will be 4 articles on the town meeting warrant, similar to that we had previously, 2 for sewer and 2 for water. One of them is it will be the annual budget article, and the other one will be in case we run short, to be able to transfer money from the retained earnings to cover up any shortfall. I just asked that this be on so that when they ask you, John, what the vote was, you'd be able to give a vote. So I put a motion that we approve those 4 articles.
Okay, I'll second it. Any more discussion on it? All those in favor? John Spinning, aye.
Fascinello, aye.
Bill Abbott, aye.
Pradeep?
So what is the motion?
Then
There'll
we
be
back those 4 articles.
4 articles, 2 of them are for the next year's fiscal budget. It's a standard one that we always have. And recently, because we've come up short on the revenue for a particular, whether it's sewer or water, that we have articles to take retained earnings to fill up any shortfall. Last year, we said we don't need one of the articles. We did need it for sewer. So it's pretty standard.
So yeah, I can't vote on this yet until I see the article language.
Okay.
I can verify the.
John Hasenjäger?
Yeah, I'll be favorable.
Okay, so it's a 4-0-1. The final water management permit, I think we went over that. We have a couple of them on the,
He did, John. That was just a duplicate item on the agenda.
what, Mayor?
You did already go over that. That was just a duplicate in
Right,
different places.
right.
So, yeah.
Okay, 3 and 4 are on,
They're just telling us what the
274
decision
South
was.
Street.
They're just telling us what the decisions are. We
Right,
get them once they've ever decided an issue, so.
okay. Let's go on to the Jarvis Farm parking lot, Patrick.
Yes. Superintendent, what's happening? Tell me what's happening there.
Exactly what you're asking about the Jarvis Farm parking lot?
Yes, what progress have we made? Has the state responded. She said she was going to send us something. Does she have any idea? Does she have anything to say?
I have nothing from the state on that.
Okay, can we reach out to that person and find out why we haven't heard from the Commonwealth?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Last but not least is the meter to cash report. Do we have anything on that?
Any update or the only update I see is that the November bill was 43 days late. I'm not sure whether that's improvement or it is still same. The check itself took 10 days or 11 days to clear. That itself is a problem, huge problem. I think people are handling check by hand. It's going desk to desk. That's one of the two biggest problems. The third thing was we requested to find out the vendors who can do the billing for us. So we requested Superintendent to find out whether he has looked out for any vendors for that.
We are getting cooker with our billing, right?
We are, John. It is making, it is shrinking by the month. Or by the quarter, I should say.
Okay,
We're really, we've really significantly brought it down.
good.
Like I've said in the past, it's something that, would take about 1.5 years to really bring it down. It was something that we couldn't do all at once because the impact.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel we're moving in the right direction. And, I believe things are, a lot better just due to the staff that we have. And, we're finally fully staffed and we're being able to make all of these appointments for these meter replacements. We had the schedule closed for 1 year and that really set us back. But we are moving in the right direction.
Good. Very good. Does anyone have anything else they want to?
Yes, John.
Go ahead, Patrick.
This is Pat. About 2 weeks ago, the sheriff showed up at my house and probably at your house too.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
And I basically want to know from our DPW director, what's the status on that case? Rick, do you have any idea?
I do.
Okay.
The complaint that was filed on behalf of the developer was answered by our counsel. We should know more later on this month as to what direction it's going to proceed. I would imagine a bunch of interrogatories will go back and forth and will ultimately probably end up in the same type of situation we ended up with the other developers.
We lose.
Not necessarily. He's looking at a couple of different things in terms of what needs to be provided for response and what the responses are going to be. I don't think I should discuss it in this forum. What I would do is when we get to that point, Commissioner Falcinello, that he has the answers, I would recommend that council come before you guys in executive session to discuss the matter deeply. But he did answer the complaint.
All right. In other words, his complaint, in your view, is just frivolous?
Yes, if you remember, we had calculated the fees based on the number of units. You know the structure of the commission, where we have the options to use 3 different types of
Mr. Chairman,
fee setting.
I think it would be best if we don't get into any further discussion, that we save it for when we go into an executive session. You just never know where a conversation like this could go. And I don't think we've said anything that's a problem at this point, but
No.
That's probably a good idea right now.
It's a great idea.
All right, so let's cut it off. there.
Okay, all right. If that's the idea, then I'd like the idea also that we be informed. Because in the other case we had, we were sort of blindsided and were just not even consulted in anything, and we lost that case. So we should not follow that same track again, I think. So would you please figure out a way to keep us informed so we can help you too with this case, you know?
Right. As soon as I get information, Patrick, I'll pass it along in a proper forum. But again, once he has all the facts and all the information, he being our counsel, then he needs to proceed. I will get him on one of your agendas and you can discuss it in executive session.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Chairman Spillane,
Go ahead,
I'd like to
John.
make a request before you adjourn the meeting. Could we be sure that our next meeting, Mary, what's the date on that?
It's January 24th, John.
That be an in-person meeting, not a Zoom meeting, so that we can have the executive session and so forth?
I'll
don't
second
know.
that.
I don't
If
know if
that's a
that's gonna
motion,
be
I'll second
possible.
it.
I don't know if it's gonna be possible. And I'll tell you guys, I don't like being here tonight on this Zoom thing either. I'd rather be meeting in person. But these are
Well, why
bad
don't
times.
we?
These are bad times right now. Pat.
Yeah, but you know, if we all have our shots, we're all wearing masks. Why can't we, you know, meet?
John, now you know what I had to listen to the last time we went into Zoom meeting.
Why don't
I
we let,
prefer to be in front, but I understand the concern and the situation, and I think we can continue with the Zoom meetings. They're not as good as being in person, but as you said, the times probably warrant that we go with the Zoom. I believe all the other boards are, and
right.
I don't see any reason that we.
Let's give it a week or two and see what it
Well,
looks like.
housing board is meeting tonight, I think. And it's in-person meeting.
Yeah, the library's open. I mean, Bill, Ab and I can play pickleball at Town Hall.
Have fun.
So this is like,
Blackburn Hall.
Blackburn Hall, excuse me.
well, you know, it's up to us to decide. Maybe we should have a vote of the commissioners and we'll go by that.
It's all right with me. Want to make a motion?
Yeah. Actually, John had the motion. Go ahead, John.
No, I move that we hold our next meeting as an in-person meeting, particularly in the nature of the subject matter we're going to deal with and the possible need for the executive session.
And I second that.
Mr.
More
Chairman,
discussion?
I just want you to be aware, before we do that, you should look into the issues of, because people can't attend a public meeting. There was providing masks for people. You had to be able to keep, the
6
public,
feet
if they
apart.
attend 6 feet apart. It's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, we want to do it. So
Well,
I believe we have a motion and a second.
We do.
I'm voting no.
Your name is?
Bill Abbott, no.
Okay. John Hassenegger.
Abstain. I don't have much information how the weeks will look, in January, and I'll abstain.
So what is your vote?
He said he's abstaining.
Abstaining from the vote.
Abstaining. Okay, so we have a 1-on-1. Patrick?
I vote yes.
John Hassenegger?
I vote yes.
And John Splain, I vote no.
2-1-1, there's a no vote.
No, it's a no vote.
Let's see what happens in the next week or so. Let's see if we can get back to it.
Okay.
We
All
used
right.
to depend on you, John, to get us out of these meetings. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a
Second.
second.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Casanova.
Splain, aye. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
John, college.